Meghan Markle was slammed for allegedly monetizing a photograph of Archie and Lili during what appeared to be an emotional visit to Princess Diana's grave. But the quiet image concealed a far more complicated truth. Prince Harry walked beneath Althorp's trees, carrying flowers beside his young son, while his daughter followed behind, approaching the memory of the grandmother they never knew. Their faces were hidden, but their private grief was suddenly exposed to millions. Critics accused Meghan Markle of turning Archie, Lili, and Diana's grave into valuable public content. But did she actually profit from the photograph? Why was the grave never visible? And who transformed a children's tribute into a royal scandal? At first, the photograph seemed too quiet to provoke a storm. Prince Harry walked beneath a corridor of trees at Althorp, his shoulders slightly forward, a bouquet held at his side. Archie moved beside him with flowers of his own. Several steps behind, Lilibet followed in a summer dress, small against the long green avenue. Their faces were turned away. There was no visible grave, no camera crew, no product arranged in the frame. Above the photographs, Meghan had written only 2 words: summer holiday. Within minutes, those 2 words began traveling farther than the family ever had. Supporters saw a father leading his children toward the memory of the grandmother they had never met. They imagined Harry telling them about Diana's laugh, her compassion, and the way she made frightened strangers feel noticed. For them, the flowers transformed the photograph into something tender. 3 generations connected across an absence that could never be repaired. Then, the first accusation appeared. A royal commentator called the image tasteless. Another account described it as exploitation. Headlines spread across phones in London, Los Angeles, and beyond, each one sounding more certain than the last. By midday, the photograph was no longer being discussed as a family memory. It was being presented as evidence that Meghan had turned Diana's resting place and her own children into publicity. But evidence of what? The picture showed only a path. Diana's actual grave lay on a secluded island in the round oval lake, protected from public access. Harry and the children appeared to be carrying flowers, but no image showed them reaching the island, placing the bouquets, or standing beside a marker. Even the location had initially been pieced together through landscape clues. None of that slowed the outrage. The photograph carried a power that facts could not easily contain. Diana's name still awakened grief. Harry's estrangement from the royal family added tension. Meghan's businesses gave critics a motive they believed they understood. Attention attracted followers. Followers carried commercial value. Therefore, they argued, even a private tribute could become a product without displaying a price. In California, the post continued gathering reactions. Some messages praised the family. Others accused Meghan of using her children while claiming to protect their privacy. The disagreement hardened into 2 stories. In one, she was a mother preserving a meaningful day. In the other, she was a strategist converting grief into relevance. Yet the children remained almost invisible within both versions. Archie carried flowers for a grandmother he knew through stories. Lilibet followed her father down a path heavy with history. Neither child could understand why strangers were enlarging the photograph, studying their bodies and assigning motives to a moment they had lived quietly. Then another headline appeared. Prince William was likely livid. No statement from William accompanied it. No verified message proved his anger. Still, his silence created the perfect space for speculation. And by nightfall, a private walk had become a royal war. The most damaging claim was still coming. Only hours earlier, the avenue at Althorp had been almost silent. The Spencer family estate carried the weight of centuries. Beyond its manicured grounds stood a grand house filled with portraits, inherited possessions, and the unmistakable evidence of aristocratic wealth. This was not a place an ordinary tourist could enter privately. Harry had not arrived as an anonymous visitor. He was the Duke of Sussex, the king's younger son, and a man born into one of the world's most recognized families. Yet beneath the title and privilege remained the 12-year-old boy who had once walked behind his mother's coffin while millions watched. That memory followed him along the avenue. In the dramatized reconstruction, Archie looked at the bouquet in his hands. "Are these for Grandma Diana?" he asked. Harry lowered his gaze toward his son. For a moment, the titles disappeared. He was no longer a duke standing on an ancestral estate. He was simply a father, searching for words gentle enough for a child. "Yes," Harry said. "She loved flowers. What was she like?" The question struck more deeply than Archie could have known. A flash of memory returned. Diana kneeling so she could speak to her sons at eye level, her arms closing around them without concern for cameras or royal formality. Harry remembered her laughter, but memory had become cruel with time. Some details remained painfully bright. Others had faded no matter how fiercely he tried to hold them. "She was kind," he answered, "and she wanted people to feel that they mattered." Lilibet hurried forward, her smaller steps struggling to match theirs. "Would she know us?" Harry stopped. Meghan stood several paces behind them. Once an actress building her own career in Hollywood, she had entered royalty through marriage and emerged from it as one of the most intensely scrutinized women in the world. She now lived with Harry and their children in the wealthy privacy of Montecito, surrounded by gates, security, and the comforts their success could provide. Media agreements, public appearances, and business ventures had given the couple financial independence, but they had also ensured that no personal image could ever be viewed as completely separate from their commercial identity. Meghan watched Harry crouch beside Lilibet. "She would have loved you both," he said. His voice was steady, but Meghan recognized the strain in his face. Grief had taught Harry how to speak while hurting. Years earlier, long before California, public battles and business headlines, he had learned that royal sorrow was rarely allowed to remain private. And Meghan raised her phone. "Keep walking," she said softly. "I'll stay back." The distance preserved the children's faces and allowed Harry his moment with them. It also created the photograph that would later be examined, as though every shadow contained a hidden contract. Harry glanced over his shoulder. "Just for us?" Meghan hesitated. "For them," she replied. "So they'll remember." That hesitation foreshadowed the question that would soon divide millions. A family photograph could be preserved privately, but once shared from an account followed across the world, it entered an economy built on attention. Meghan understood publicity. She knew a single image could reach further than an interview, particularly when the image contained children, flowers, and the unspoken presence of Diana. But understanding the value of an image did not prove that the moment had been created for profit. The children continued beneath the trees. Across the estate, beyond the visible path, the round oval waited in stillness. Diana's grave remained on its secluded island, protected by water and distance. The family's access reflected extraordinary privilege, but the reason for that privacy was heartbreak rather than wealth. Diana's burial place had been chosen so her sons could visit without strangers invading their grief. That history made the photograph powerful. It also made it dangerous. Far away, in a London newsroom, a fictional composite editor stared at the image on a large monitor, while a younger reporter stood beside him. "Can we say they were at the grave?" the reporter asked. "We can say the picture appears to have been taken at Althorpe. That isn't the same thing." "No," the editor said, enlarging the flowers in Archie's hands, "but readers will make the connection." The reporter studied the screen. "And monetizing it?" The editor did not answer immediately. There was no product in the photograph, no sales link attached to Diana's memory, and no visible evidence of payment. Still, Meghan's name attracted attention. And attention produced revenue for media organizations, whether she received money from the Post or not. "Right that critics are asking the question," he finally said. One cautious sentence was enough. Other outlets shortened it. Social media accounts removed the uncertainty. Soon, questions about monetization became "Meghan monetized the photograph." Speculation hardened into accusation, and accusation began masquerading as fact. Back at Althorpe, Archie reached for his sister's hand as they moved closer to the lake. Harry carried the flowers. Meghan lowered her phone. None of them could hear the headlines forming. But somewhere between the private avenue and the public screen, the meaning of the photograph had already changed. By sunrise in California, Meghan's phone had become a courtroom. Notifications stacked across the screen. Tasteless, exploitative, leave Diana alone. Between them were messages from supporters who saw nothing shameful in a father introducing his children to their grandmother. But the cruelest accusations traveled fastest, stripped of uncertainty, and repeated as verdicts. Harry entered the kitchen and found Meghan standing beside the marble counter, still wearing yesterday's exhaustion. "They're saying you used the children to sell something," he said. "What did I sell?" He placed his phone before her. A headline filled the screen. "Meghan slammed for monetizing Diana grave photo." Meghan read it twice. "There wasn't a product," she said. "There wasn't even a picture of the grave." But there was a picture of them. The words landed harder than he intended. For years, the couple had argued that privacy did not require disappearance. Their children could have family memories without surrendering every angle of their faces to strangers. That belief explained the careful distance, the turned heads, and the photographs taken from behind. Yet the same precautions now fed another accusation, that Archie and Lilibet were revealed only when their limited visibility created maximum attention. Meghan folded her arms. "I protected their identities." Harry stared through the window toward the guarded grounds of their Montecito home. Wealth had purchased walls, space, and security, but it had never purchased silence. Their royal titles opened private estates and global platforms. They also ensured that an ordinary family photograph could become international currency. "My mother was hunted by cameras," he said quietly. "I cannot let that happen to them." "This wasn't a photographer hiding outside," Meghan replied. "It was our photograph. That's why they'll say we chose it." Silence filled the kitchen. Years earlier, Harry had left his senior royal role, believing distance would give his family control. Meghan had left behind palace protocol, carrying memories of relentless coverage, and the conviction that speaking for herself was safer than allowing others to define her. Now control itself had become the charge against them. Across London, the composite reporter from the previous night reopened the original post. He searched for a product tag. There was none. He checked for a sales link attached to the image. None appeared. He examined the caption again. "Summer holiday." His editor approached. "Have you confirmed payment?" "No." "Sponsored placement?" "No." "A campaign connected to the photograph?" "Nothing documented." The editor's expression tightened. "Then why is everyone calling it monetized?" "Because attention has value. That is an argument," the reporter said, "not proof." On Meghan's screen, another alert appeared. This one claimed Prince William had exploded in anger. Harry reached for the article, but stopped when he saw the wording beneath the headline. Likely, believed, reportedly. No statement, no named witness, no confirmation. He enlarged it until the flowers blurred and the distant path sharpened. Then the reporter noticed something in the Althorpe photograph that every furious headline had missed, and the entire accusation began to fracture. The reporter enlarged the photograph. There, he said. His editor leaned closer. What am I looking at? A path through Althorpe, not the grave. Diana's burial place rested on an island within the round oval, surrounded by water and deliberately protected from public access. The photograph showed Harry, Archie, and Lilibet walking along the estate. The bouquets suggested a tribute, but they did not prove where the family went next, whether they crossed toward the island or whether the flowers were placed elsewhere. The headline had transformed an inference into a location. We need to correct it, the reporter said. We said it appeared connected to the grave. Others didn't. The editor looked toward the newsroom screens. The more dramatic version had spread. Commentators were debating Meghan's intentions. Strangers were condemning a scene the photograph did not contain. In Montecito, Harry reached the same realization. They're writing as if she's visible, he said, as if we stood over her grave posing. Meghan lowered her phone. The picture doesn't show the lake. It doesn't matter now. People remember the accusation, not the qualification. His anger carried him backward to childhood. After Diana's death, grief had never belonged to William and him. Crowds mourned outside palace gates. Newspapers replayed her life. Commentators interpreted two stunned boys who had barely learned how to survive the silence she left behind. Althorpe became one of the few places where memory could exist beyond public ownership. That was why the criticism hurt. But it was also why some people felt betrayed by the photograph. Diana had spent years pursued by cameras. To them, any image associated with her protected burial place felt like another intrusion, even if the grave itself remained unseen. Archie entered the room holding a drawing. Why are you angry, Papa? Harry's expression softened. I'm not angry with you. Is it because of Grandma? Meghan and Harry exchanged a look. No, Meghan said, kneeling. Some people are arguing about a photograph. The one with my flowers? Yes. Archie studied the drawing in his hands. It showed 4 figures beside a blue circle, with a 5th figure above them in yellow. I made Grandma Diana part of the sky, he said. The simplicity of it silenced them. Online, adults argued about commercial value, royal entitlement, and public relations. Inside the house, a child had reduced the day to love for someone absent. Then another alert appeared. A commentator claimed William's fury proved Meghan had crossed an unforgivable line. Harry opened the article. No quotation from William appeared. No palace statement existed. The claim rested on what an expert believed the Prince of Wales would feel. Meghan looked at Harry. Are you going to call him? Harry stared at his brother's name, remembering 2 boys walking together behind a coffin and 2 men now separated by years of wounds. His thumb hovered over the screen. But before he could decide, the reporter found the detail that would determine whether monetizing was evidence or merely accusation. The detail was not hidden inside the photograph. It was missing from everything surrounding it. No product tag, no advertisement, no sponsorship disclosure, no sales link attached to the Althorpe image. Nothing established that the photograph itself had been sold. He carried his findings to the editor. Attention can strengthen a public brand, the editor said. Yes, but indirect value is not proof of direct monetization. So what do we write? The truth. She shared a family photograph. Critics accused her of exploiting it. The image may generate attention, but no documented transaction proves she was paid for that tribute. Meghan had been accused of monetizing Diana's memory, but media outlets were earning money from advertisements placed beside the accusation. Outrage had become the most visible product in the story. In Montecito, Harry moved his thumb away from William's name without calling. Some conversations could not survive an audience. Not like this, he said. Meghan looked toward Archie's drawing. Should I delete the photograph? Harry did not answer. Deleting it might protect the moment, but it could also be interpreted as an admission. Leaving it online preserved their version of the day, but allowed the children's tribute to continue circulating through arguments they could not understand. "What did you want people to see?" he asked. "You with them," Meghan said. "A father giving his children something the world took from him too early. And what did they see? Whatever they already believed about me." Outside, Archie and Lilibet ran across the lawn, released from the titles adults placed before their names. They were a prince and princess by birth, children of wealth and status, but neither inheritance could shield them from becoming symbols. To supporters, they represented family healing. To critics, they were evidence of calculated publicity. To Harry and Meghan, they were their children. Meghan closed the applications on her phone. The controversy did not end. Some critics still believed that publishing the photograph violated the spirit of a private memorial. Their ethical objection remained valid as opinion. Supporters continued arguing that parents had the right to share a carefully protected family memory. That belief remained defensible too. But the strongest claims had fractured under examination. The photograph did not show Diana's grave. William had issued no confirmed public statement of fury. No available evidence demonstrated that Meghan directly earned money from the image. The flowers, however, were real. So was Harry's loss. And somewhere beneath the headlines was the moment the camera had captured. A father walking with his children toward the memory of a woman whose life had once been consumed by public attention. Diana had been pursued for photographs. Decades later, one photograph connected to her absence had triggered another chase. This time, the target was motive. The public wanted a villain, but the evidence offered something more unsettling. Grief, privilege, publicity, and commerce had become almost impossible to separate. The photograph had never shown a price, but everyone surrounding it had discovered its true value.